Let's get into today's stories, starting with dating an undercover cop. A victim of the SpyCops scandal in the UK is now telling us everything. Environmental activist Kate Wilson fell in love with an undercover cop and was with him for 2 years, all while he was investigating her. Almost a decade later, she breaks her anonymity to discuss her win against a court case with the Met UK police. She's one of the only victims to get justice, and this is to be celebrated. This is positive news. In our second story for today, the US and the UK met together for Trump's visit and released a tech prosperity plan. They really rushed it in to get it in time for his visit. Now, find out why. I'll look at the new data centers, a new supercomputer, and I also think they just copied China's AI Plus plan. Get the details today. Financial privacy with respects to cryptocurrency is under attack in the US. What's new? And even doing basic things like creating a new address for Bitcoin to send one transaction is now going to be held suspicious if this new law passes. I'll discuss that, and also the upcoming Clarity Act, which forces any mixers or exchanges to register with the government. And in our solution for today, I won't be giving a hands-on demo, but we'll be talking conceptually about FreeNet, brainchild of Ian Clark, and going on for 25 years. This is a fully decentralized peer-to-peer network that allows for distributed computing. There's only one problem with its reputation scheme, and no one's pointed it out, so I'll dive into that, and I also let them know. As always, this is the TBOT show. We aim to be well-researched, well-informed, and focused on the most impactful stories while being concise. I promise this time, guys, for sure. Let's do this. Imagine you were fighting for a cause you cared about, and you had friends who were activists who were all working together. And from this time, you made relationships, you told your deepest, darkest secrets, you laughed, you lived, you loved, and for it to all be a lie, well, that is what happened to Kate Wilson. Environmental activist Kate Wilson fell in love with an undercover cop who was investigating her for over 2 years. She's the only one to have won her claim against the Met UK police for this shameless act of spying on vulnerable females in activist movements and spying on them and lying to them. Now, she's finally won a 10-year legal battle, which has not been easy, and is now educating others through her book, Disclosure: Unraveling the SpyCops Files. Now, why is this even related to tech? Why am I talking about this? Well, it's not just environmental issues these organizations and the police are targeting. It's also people who care about surveillance. Check out this clip from her talk at Chaos Communication Camp in 2015.
I'm one of 8 women who are bringing a case in the UK right now against the Metropolitan Police for assault and deceit and abuse of our human rights. In 2003, I met this man, Mark Stone, at a meeting for the mobilization against the G8 summit in 2005 in Scotland. We spent 2 years living together as lovers. He became very close to my parents. He spent many nights in their home. He attended my grandmother's 90th birthday party. He met my entire extended family. We remained friends for many years after that, very close friends, until 2010, when I received a phone call from friends in the UK who told me that this man, Mark Stone, who I shared my life with, never existed.
He was an undercover police officer named Mark Kennedy, and Kennedy had been there to foil this activist operation that Kate and her friends were working on to shut down a coal power plant. Their plan was to sneak in after hours to this coal plant and climb up the smokestack, the highest point in the whole plant, and climb up to the chimney of the smokestack and occupy the chimney, which they presumed would stop production in the coal plant. And their intentions was to save the environment, to reduce the carbon output, which I don't necessarily agree with, but that's not the point of the story. So because they had an undercover cop in their midst, this officer, Kennedy, foiled the 113-person operation, and they were all arrested before the plan had a chance to take place, and it became the largest preemptive political arrest in British history.
Over the last 5 years, there's been a lot more revelations about these undercover police officers, and I now know that between 1998 and 2010, at least 6 people that I knew and worked with, and some of whom I considered friends, were actually undercover police officers. And this year, I went to the Circumvention Tech Festival in Valencia, and after a pretty weird control by the police, we found this GPS tracker stuck under my car. So much for my privacy. And finding the GPS tracker was a bit of a wake-up call. They've basically been targeting me for the last 17 years. And that happened in part because I didn't believe that they would sink so low. I didn't believe that I was doing anything that would be interesting enough. And so I think that people need to know that this happens to real people. And I've started to feel like the anonymity is a bit like a gagging order. And so I've decided to give it up.
It goes on to explain the extent of the surveillance operation, and it's pretty creepy. While they were at home together, Mark would be paid overtime for the nights that they spent together, and whatever they were doing, he was monitored. His location was monitored in real time in an operations center. I really like this quote from her. There was a command structure that decided whether I was going to have dinner with my boyfriend that night. So think about that, how infiltrated these groups can get and how sophisticated these operations are. And of course, they use emotionally manipulative tactics to get in close with their targets. Mark said that he had a troubled childhood with a broken family, but his parents were actually together the whole time. For Kate to get justice in this small way and to still be helping others is positive news, despite it being a dark subject. But she's not the only one. There are 7 other women with cases like hers. And as others point out, this is not just happening with the Met UK police. There are very little laws that regulate undercover or even private spying, and this is happening in other places like Germany. And in the UK, they've been spotting undercover officers since 1968. So as a solution for the viewer, I invite you to check out this book, Was My Friend a Spy Cop? A Guide to Investigating Your Suspicions About People in Activist Movements. The book, at the end, as I'm pointing to here, gives you 15 questions to help you reflect on whether a suspicious person is within your group. Now, you can read this. Is their background missing? Are their politics missing? Has anyone ever met their family, or do they just talk about their family a lot? Do they just disappear for several weeks at a time? Does their home look unlived in, aside from some obvious signs that, man, they're really a rebel or a political activist? Does it actually look lived in? What are the ways they choose to donate their time or effort? Do they choose to drive people around? Do they have above average driving skills? Now, I'm going to be honest here. I think a good amount of people who are freedom lovers or just activists in general may be yeses to some of these questions. So discernment is really necessary. But there are also other things that the book rightly points out, like if you're seeing documents with a different name on them, and it kind of clashes with the whole anonymity thing, right? To be able to do this and carry some anonymity, there has to be a little skin in the game. You do have to share real information with the people that you work with. And you might find that if a spy cop is within your midst, their information might be completely false. So today, we celebrate Kate in her journey and for having the strength to persist in her case against the Met UK police and get just a little piece of transparency from a world full of shadows. We hope others can learn from this story and take these lessons and apply them to their own movements. Some good resources here that Kate recommended is Police Spies Out of Our Lives at policespiesoutofOurlives.org.uk, and I will link this book in the description as well. I have some announcements to share with you this week. Yes, please tune in for this. One is our interview last week with the esteemed James Corbett of the Corbett Report. the open source journalism outlet, which inspired thousands, including myself. And so I had a chance to interview James, and we talked about what it takes to be a conspiracy realist and actually know what you were talking about instead of going through a loop of conspiracy memes. Plus, I got to ask James about his personal life, how to raise and educate kids, how to educate your kids about these important issues, James's thoughts on immigration in the world at large, and his work ethic. So if you want to hear that secret sauce, remember to become a paid subscriber of Take Back Our Tech. Sign up as a paid member and you'll get access to this special secret segment of the interview. And of course, buy James's book, Reportage. I have a copy. I think it's wonderful. I think everyone should have a copy in their home. If you have someone you want to wake up, I think it's a great gift. Check it out. The second announcement is this global digital ID report, which I've been working on for a while. I promise it's coming soon. Go to abovephone.com/future. With this report, I wanted to answer, hey, what countries is digital ID mandatory in? And what countries do they say it's not mandatory in, but it actually is? And what is life like in those countries where everyone is enforcing digital IDs? And most importantly, is there a way to opt out? You'll find out in this report. Go to abovephone.com/future, put your name and email in here, and you'll get the report as soon as it is ready. I promise, soon. Trademark. That's all the announcements I have for you this week. The US has been busy creating a framework of legal regulations around cryptocurrency. What was once supposed to be free and private and peer-to-peer is now becoming more centralized by the day. This next story comes to me, well, as at least started, inspired by Lola Leets, contributor for The Rage, which writes about financial privacy and cryptocurrency and freedom. Now, from this article, it talks about how the U.S. government is looking to incorporate the Patriot Act in their surveillance and regulation of the rules against mixers. So this information comes from the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, which is a part of the U.S. Department of Treasury, and Director Andrea Gacki confirmed in a committee hearing that they were finalizing this new mixer rule based on the Patriot Act, or really taking its power from the Patriot Act, as we all know, which circumvents judicial review, allows for warrantless surveillance, so this is being carried on. Now, this mixer rule was created under the Biden presidency and is now being requested to be finalized under the Trump administration. U.S. House Rep. Liccardo cited a study saying that 91% of fraud cases against elderly persons involve decentralized finance. And he asked, hey, Andrea, do you have enough power to actually track these people down that hide their activity through mixers? So blockchain analysis for firms like Chain Analysis, which I've written extensively on, you could check out my article at Take Back Our Tech on the IRS wants to trace Monero. We'll put that up here on the screen. Well, so we're finding that their collaboration and government contracts with firms like Chain Analysis wasn't enough, and mixers are still being used to avoid detection, or at least that's what was said in this hearing, using programmatic or algorithmic code to coordinate the structure of transactions. So this is also using automated things to break up your transactions, to structure them in a way that's harder to follow, splitting crypto through a series of independent transactions, creating single-use wallets, which this is the most heinous thing of all. This is just a normal privacy practice that you can do just by tapping on your phone, and it is recommended. Even that would put you under suspicion. And of course, exchanging between types of cryptos, that would also put you under suspicion. So these things are things that anyone who is literate in crypto is already doing, and really they're best practices for your own privacy and your own safety against cyber criminals and also against financial surveillance. But I think that they want this to come to an end. So if this passes, developers could be held criminally liable, and you may be committing federal crimes by following this. Hopefully these rules never turn into law. Now, there have been people such as FinCEN, which this article points out really well, that what if this got applied to cash? So, for instance, taking this analogy and taking it to cash, pooling your funds together. Okay, you're at the office and there's someone's birthday. You go around with a birthday card and you get a $5 bill from each person to donate. That's pooling a transaction. That would become a financial crime. So just by using that analogy, you can see how ridiculous this is, and it's just a means to get power over something they are feeling insecure about. Now, Gaki mentions that previously FinCEN was using the Patriot Act to go after specific groups and bypass their constitutional rights, and that she was proud of this. This is the Patriot Act, of course, is why we have things like the KYC and anti-money laundering laws. It's why your bank freaks out if you want to make a wire transfer. Now, another representative on this committee, Representative Castens, he was also pushing a mixer ban, and he wanted stronger mixer laws. He even wanted to ban mixers for 2 years. Well, it turns out this guy received money from FTX associates. You might remember FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, which embezzled funds from their exchange and put it towards political donations. So, of course, he hired Sam Bankman-Fried's brother. Let's find this. He hired his brother as a congressional aide, and also he received $10,000 from FTX as a donation. So it just goes to show you that the hypocrisy when these representatives are saying, hey, we need stronger rules, but it's really a gray area whether they're receiving embezzled funds from other people. They say they want to protect the elderly, but they may be complicit in a scam themselves. In a separate but related topic, the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act, or Clarity as it's known, was recently amended. Here's the latest draft. And you may remember this, it's been rebranded several times. It used to be the Trump Anti-CBDC Surveillance Act, right? Super anti-CBDC and anti-surveillance. Well, no, that's not the case. It's imposing that any service that acts as a service provider for the exchange of cryptocurrency must register under the SEC. So this could be a trading platform. It's really anything that takes your coins and does something automatically with them. Or it could be an escrow, or it could be a peer-to-peer exchange. So this would impact centralized exchanges and custodial wallets, right? Because when you use a custodial wallet, it's actually someone else holding your coins for you. It's this aspect of control, which I had to really peel away the layers in this bill and understand. It's really about who has control of the coins. If you're a service provider and you have control of the coins, you need a money transmitting license, which is ridiculous. So of importance to this story is this money transmitting business status was what was used against Tornado Cash developer Roman Storm, and also the Samurai wallet developers this year. So if we go to page 57 in this bill, you can see the one thing that they tweaked here: non-controlling blockchain developer or provider of a blockchain service. So this is the one thing they tweaked because there was a big backlash on, hey, you are holding software developers criminally liable for people laundering money with their software. So this creates a exclusion for the software developers, but it does not change if you operate an exchange like this or a mixing service. You are still a money transmitter. So it really this non-controlling blockchain developer or provider of a blockchain service it means a blockchain developer or provider that in regular course of operations does not have the legal right or unilateral or independent ability to control, initiate upon demand, or effectuate transactions involving digital assets that users are entitled to without the approval, consent, or direction of any other third party, which the third party in this case, I guess, means the SEC. This basically means if a service has your coins in its possession, it is a money transmitting business and must be registered within the SEC. The difference between writing a piece of software, the person who writes software that could manage people's coins, versus actually running it. Well, this is a dichotomy that we see in other places, like open source licenses with the AGPL, which I've talked about previously on the TBOT show. Mainly the difference between writing a piece of software versus running that piece of software for others to use, being an application service provider. So if you're an application service provider for any cryptocurrency software, can manage people's coins completely on its own and it's not in the custody of the user, you fall under this. Cryptocurrency was supposed to be the out from financial surveillance mechanisms and government regulation, but now anyone running services that could improve your privacy or pool or crowdfund and manage your coins in some other way will be forced to register with the government. A really sad day for privacy indeed. You remember being in school and you had a deadline for an assignment coming up and it was coming down to the wire, and I mean, you get the feeling, let me just copy a friend's homework. That's what I feel like the US and the UK did in their new tech prosperity deal. So check this out. It's a new $42 billion deal that was ushered through because Trump was about to visit Britain and they had to talk about this awesome deal that went through. And it's a recommitment from the United States to invest in the UK, specifically the big tech firms, including Microsoft, Nvidia, Google, Salesforce, Oracle, Amazon Web Services, and of course BlackRock. A lot of the funds are earmarked to construct new data centers and AI infrastructure, of course, because AI is more important than anything that is currently going on in Britain. So this includes, as you can get from this Reuters article, Britain's largest AI supercomputer, which is powered by Nvidia, and Microsoft is earmarking some of their $22 billion investment. Palantir, of course, is of focus in this specific tech prosperity deal, with CEO Alex Karp making headlines everywhere. But this new partnership with the UK will see Palantir invest $2 billion into the UK economy. Now, we must remember that Palantir was birthed from the CIA and the Total Information Awareness Project, as the astute Whitney Webb reports. Check out this clip.
Peter Thiel teams up with In-Q-Tel, the CIA's venture capital firm. Alex Karp has said on record that the intended clients of Palantir from the beginning was the CIA. And, the CIA was their first client for their first 6 years as a company. Their top developers went to Langley, Virginia, which is CIA headquarters, every 2 weeks to show the CIA their product and have them tweak it to their liking. And during that period of time, one of the top people at the CIA that would have been involved in that is this guy named Alan Wade, who was also intimately involved with Total Information Awareness. And if you look at how Total Information Awareness was described, its privacy protections, it's exactly the same as the way Palantir sold their stuff later on.
And there's a picture of Alex Karp, and people are really upset about this, but what people aren't talking about is this larger tech prosperity deal, which seems to be a merger between the US and UK science and technology states, but also the surveillance state. Reading the entire text of this memorandum of understanding between the two countries, we see that the US and the UK have decided to collaborate in the realms of AI, nuclear power, fusion, and quantum technologies. Those technologies sound very similar. That's actually language that resembles almost exactly what China is focusing on in their own AI Plus plan, which I have already reported on the TBOT show. So the US and the UK will work together to build out AI infrastructure and develop shared data sets. So they're going to work on many different things. So in their scientific research field, they'll look at biotechnology, precision medicine, fusion energy. I mean, who else is going to power all these big ass data centers? We're going to need more nuclear plants or nuclear energy. Space exploration, I can't wait to see how that goes. Civil nuclear energy, I did wonder if civil means for the data center or for the people. I hope it means for the people. So this is advanced nuclear reactors and fuels, a nuclear fuel supply chain independent from Russia, and fusion power plants. Of course, quantum is also in here, where they're going to try and develop new quantum computers to develop drugs or to optimize logistics. Just a spitting image of China's AI Plus plan. I know that these countries have to follow trends, but are they really just copying each other, or are they all getting the same directive? And the solution for the week this week could replace the entire internet. It's the new FreeNet, and developed by Ian Clark, and has been in development and running for 25 years. was one of the first peer-to-peer distributed networks. So this next version of FreeNet, which is currently in development, it's been making a lot of waves this year as Ian Clark has been interviewed by Futo, has completely been written from the ground up. It's a lot different than previous versions. And its new version, it claims to potentially be a replacement for the World Wide Web. So what is FreeNet? Well, you would use it through the web browser and you could connect to other FreeNet peers in this distributed network, accessing shared data and interacting with distributed applications and even creating your own. And so I'm going to be giving you just a simple overview today. It will be oversimplified so we can understand it. So going on the website freenet.org, you can think of FreeNet as an end-to-end operating system for decentralized apps, where the apps and data are entirely stored on FreeNet. So this is kind of different than other Web3 platforms, which do not store data or they're not interactive. Those are the two main things. Or if they are interactive, they're not interactive in real time. Most other Web3 networks use blockchains as their storage mechanisms, which are great, but you can't do things like edit or subscribe to updates. So FreeNet is supposed to change that. And it's also a small piece of core software, smaller than 10 megabytes for the core software, so it could be bundled into other software. And what it is, it's essentially a giant or a global key value store shared across a peer-to-peer network, or a dictionary. So a dictionary is really simple. It's got keys and it's got values on the other side. You can pick anything you want for your key, and then you can search the key later on to be led to its value. In a normal dictionary, you would look up a key and get a value back. In a FreeNet, the key itself is a program. It's WebAssembly code, and it's referred to as a contract. So you can think of contracts as the decentralized applications which run inside of FreeNet. And these contracts are written in WebAssembly, which WebAssembly is a portable assembly-like language, so it's close to machine code, which means it's super fast, it's near native performance, but it allows for you to write programs in different languages, such as C, C#, C++, or Rust. And these can be compiled into WebAssembly, then they can be imported onto the web, and they can be run within a web browser. So that's how they can be loaded into FreeNet as these contracts or apps, and that's how people can write their own apps and then immediately have that become available on FreeNet. Now, this functionality of writing these decentralized apps is not ready yet. It's still a work in progress. People aren't allowed to make changes to the mainnet yet, but they will soon, it looks like. I'm really excited about the software. I see myself developing applications for it. And so we want this to have a reliable reputation mechanism and not be reliant on a big tech payment provider. Thank you for joining me for another riveting episode of Take Back Our Tech. This is TBOT episode 15. I'm your host, Hakeem Anwar. Thanks for following along. If you aren't a subscriber already, sign up to us at tbot.substack.com. If you got anything out of these stories, please share them with your friends. Next week, we're going to be releasing the full articles and stories. You'll see on this particular show, the stories or the videos are a little bit cut down. So when we release the post next week, you'll get the full version. That's all I have for you. Again, always remember, our connection is sacred. Peace.